I'm going to show you how you can convert this boring data into this interactive map. Hi, my name is Zach, and in this video, I am going to show you how you can convert a CSV file into an interactive map using Python and Streamlit library. Here, you can select any state and filter data. And also here you can filter by year, quarter, state, and also fraud type. So this is a data source I collected from Federal Trade Commission, and here this data is fraud and identity theft report. So this is the original Tableau dashboard that Federal Trade Commission built. So I'm going to show you how you can also create this beautiful looking and interactive map with Python and Streamlit. And in this case, for map, we are going to use Python Folium library. And for displaying the boundary, we are going to use this geographic file from OpenDataSoft, where it has US state boundaries. And this is the Folium library we are going to use along with this Streamlit Folium. And these are the libraries we are going to install. So let's first create an app dashboard. The way I am going to create this dashboard, first I'm going to load data and display these metrics, and then I will show how you can create this map. And finally, I will show how you can create a sidebar. So without further ado, let's start creating the dashboard with Python and Streamlit. So here I uploaded all the data into this data folder. So you will find link of this source code into the description. And this for state boundaries, I also added this JSON file, GeoJSON file into this data folder, and it looks like this. We'll go through the structure of this JSON file once we will create the dashboard. But for now, let's create a basic skeleton of our app. So first, install the Streamlit library 1.10.0. I already installed it. So once you have Streamlit installed, just go to, I will open a terminal here. And first I will create a file for our script. I'll call it Streamlit app. And let's write down the basic code. First, I'm importing the Streamlit library, and I'll create a variable for our app title. I'll call it fraud and identity theft report. And for the app subtitle, I'll write down the source of this data, which is Federal Trade Commission. Let's create a main function for this app. And first I will create a page config for setting that app title. And let's do this, and then also I'm going to add a header, or I'm going to display a title. And let's initiate this, let's call this main function. At this point, I'm going to run this script. Command for running any Streamlit app is Streamlit run, and then the script file name. And it will open in 8501 port. As you can see, the title of this app. So let's add the subtitle as well. So the way I will structure this app is, first I will load data, and then I will display filters and also the map, and finally I will display metrics. So that's the basic structure of this app. Let's start by loading the number of fraud reports into our dashboard. So in this case, the file name is this one. So I will copy this file name. And let's explore this data. First, let's load the data and explore it. We need to import pandas. So it is under the data folder. So if I run it, I see it has 33,000 rows and 9 columns, and these are the first five rows, and these are the column names. So so we are going to display the number of reports from this column: state fraud or other counts. So let's filter this data and one by one. So we are going to add year filter, quarter filter, state filter, and also the report type filter. So let's create a few variables before we create any actual UI elements. So let's say we're going to filter this data for this current year 2020, and let's filter this data frame. So this is the year, and which is, so if I filter it, you can see it went down. Now add quarter filter. So for current quarter, I'm going to add with the first filter, which is capital Q. So if I save it, it does not change anything. That's because in this data, we have only first quarter for 2022. And third, we're going to introduce state name. Let's say we want to filter data for Texas. And let's add another filter. and the column name is state name. So if we filter by state, we can see it is only showing for state, for one state. And let's add the fourth filter for report type. So one thing I want to do here, initially we may not have any state filter. Whenever we are loading the page, we will not have any state filter selected. So in this case, we want to see all the data from all different states. So what I will do, I will remove this state filter from here, and I will add a condition that if state name is available, then filter it. Otherwise, display everything. So if I add Texas, we will see, we should see the state name. There you go. But let's add the report. It is called state name. I'm sorry, the column name is report type. So if we filter, now we can see it is showing all the fraud related filters. But one thing notice, for one state it has multiple columns. I'm not sure exactly why, so what we can do, we can just drop any duplicate values. Drop duplicates, and in this case we're doing in place dropping. So now for a state, it is showing only one field, and we are going to grab this last column, state fraud other count, for our metrics. So what we will say is total equal the sum of this column. The reason sum, because when there is no state selected, it will be the sum of all states. So def this last field state, let's create a variable for this, like field name. That's because for other two metrics we will have different fields, so let's have a variable for it. So in this case it is state fraud other count. And we'll make sum of it, and finally we're going to display it as the metric UI element from Streamlit. And we will have a title for this section. We can say number of reports. So first we will have title. You can say metric title. Metric title, and then the total. So if I save it, now I can see it says number of reports. But one thing we can introduce is type of report with the title. So we will add the variable here, report type. So if we select fraud, it will say number of fraud reports. And if we select other type, it will say number of other reports. So let's add the state back. So now it shows the state from Texas. But one thing we can do is add format this number with a comma. So when we are displaying, we can add a string format style. So now it looks better. All right, so we're done with it. But before moving to the next metric, let's create a variable and refactor this code. That way it will look better. So let's move this everything from here, and let's create a function. I'll call it display fraud facts, and we're going to pass year, quarter, state name, and then report type, and also field name and metric title. Everything looks good, and we're going to call this after these variables. If I save it, it looks like we did not pass the data frame. So the first argument will be the data frame. All right, looks good, and we can remove these lines. And what I can do, instead of variable names here, I will just write down the variable for field name there directly. And let's change it back to fraud. All right, now let's create another, let's display another facts or metrics. In this case, we're going to display total loss, the losses. So I'm going to copy this. Actually, before copying the file name, I'm going to copy this line, and I will call the first one df fraud, which is going to be the first display fraud facts data frame, and second one will be df loss. And here the file name is just added these losses. I will change the fraud with losses, and if I copy paste the same line, and if I write down here, it may or may not work, but it did not work. The reason is for this data frame, we don't have same state fraud other counts filter or the field. So let's explore this data frame here. df losses, df loss. Let's check the head and also the columns. So here the field we are going to use is total losses. And also I don't need, actually this field is not common between all the metric title, so I will just directly write down metric title here, and for this one we will call it total dollar loss. So as you can see, it is showing here, but one thing I am noticing, there is a big numbers after this decimal point. So let's round this data into this function. I want to display the dollar sign, and it will be also for the another one. So I will show you the original final dashboard. Here these two has dollar signs. So what we can do, we can create a function in this. We can create a function. We can create an argument in this function and call it string format or number format. And by default we will display this dollar sign, but for the first one we will not use it. So we'll say number format equal the original without the dollar sign. So if I save it, it should have a dollar sign, and the first one does not have anything because it's just a number of reports. So this was for this one it was quick. Let's remove these and let's clear it up. Looks way better now. Now we are going to display median loss, the third file. Exactly similar, except here we are going to display the median instead of the sum. So first let's load this data. We will display it in the middle, so I'll just keep it in the middle between fraud and loss data frame. And here instead of losses, I'll call it, I'll write down median. And almost similar to the total loss section, except here we will call total or median loss. Let me show you. Here we'll say median dollar loss. And so here let's see what's the field name first before displaying it. So in this case, we're going to display data from overall median losses quarter. This one, because we are displaying average from each quarter. So we're going to use this one, overall median losses quarter. So let's uncomment this line and write down this column name. So if I save it, it is displaying sum from all states, but we want an average value here. So let's change our function and let's introduce a new argument here. we'll call it is median. By default it will be false, and whenever it is false, we're not going to show it. And let's update our function here. So if there is median, we will average out in this line. Otherwise we're going to display sum of it for other two metrics. So for median, let's find the average. So what we can do is find an average by dividing it with number of rows we have. So from the data frame, field name. So it will find the number of rows here, and also we will make sure that if it is not divided by 0, in this case if there is no data available, we could actually do it this way. Length of data frame, if data frame is not 0, otherwise we will just display 0, or we'll just display 0 for this data. So, and we need to pass this median field for this display fraud facts field. So let's call this argument is median true. So now it is showing median when we for this field. And let's remove these head and columns section. Now we're going to format this fraud facts section and make display it as column, as number of columns. So let's add some columns here. Streamlit columns, in this case 3 columns, and we will display each section, each metric under each column, corresponding columns. So now it's displaying nicely. Let's add a title here. Actually, let's move these under our comments over there. And let's add title here, or subheader. And in this case we're going to for example, first we can display just facts, but we will display facts dynamically by adding report type. So it's saying fraud facts. If it is other, it will say other facts. And also let's add state name. So if state name is available, it will display the state name in the title. So for example, if it is Texas, it will say Texas fraud facts. So we are done with this facts section. Let's move on to the actual our core. Now let's move on to the main section of this video. Now let's on to the main part, the map, displaying the map. So this map data is coming from this continental, and I can show you this is how it looks like. And before doing that, we need to install our library. In this case, we're going to install Folium and Streamlit Folium library. The version number I'm using here for Folium is 0.12.1.post1, and for Streamlit Folium, we're going to install this library. Streamlit Folium 0.6.13. So let's load the data first. I'll just copy this line and change instead of fraud continental. Actually, I'm going to copy the file name and paste it here, and we're going to display the map here. Let's create a function first. Map function, and I will pass the data frame. I will pass year and quarter. So we're going to we need to first define this map function. All right, so that way we will display the map. It will be based on let's see, the last column is state total, based on that last column. The state total reports, based on this value, we are going to display the map, and we'll change the color based on the number. So let's filter this data by year and quarter. Let's filter this data. I will just copy from here, and in this case we don't need the report type. Actually, we should have displayed the shape to make sure it is filtering correctly. So if I don't have any filter, it is 33,000, but with filter it is like 1900. So we are not going to pass the state filter here. Rather, we are going to return the state filter whenever we will click a state from this interactive map. So now let's import the Folium library and the Streamlit Folium. From Streamlit Folium, we are going to import st_folium. I will display in the middle here. So first, let's call Folium library, and here the map class, and we are going to return this object from this class into the Streamlit Folium library. So I will call it st_map, st_folium, and here pass the map, and it will display the map, but it doesn't look nice. So let's make it nicer. So what we can do first, let's change the shape or size of this map. I checked, the better width I found is 700, and height I found 450 looks better. When I save it, it does not change anything. So it only changes whenever we run it for the first time. So I'm going to refresh this page. Now it looks better. So let's zoom into US map, and in this case we can pass few arguments here. First of all, location, and the location for center of US I found it is 38 and minus 96.5. Always run. Let's zoom out. The variable name is 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗠. 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦 4 looks better in my opinion. And then one issue you will see, if you scroll your mouse, it will zoom in and out, which I don't want for this app. So what I will do, I will disable the scroll wheel zoom. And so right now this is showing the default map style. So there are several map styles available: OpenStreetMap, Mapbox, Bright, Control Room. So I like this one, this 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗣𝗦 positron. So what it does, it creates a flat color map, and we're going to only highlight US, and every other country will be a one simple color. So let's import let's change that map tiles to 𝗧𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗣𝗦 positron. So let's go back to our map, and here let's change that tiles, and in this case it will be 𝗧𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗑 positron. It will be 𝗧𝗠𝗘𝗦. Now it looks flat, but once we will import data, this US section will look way better. Everything else will look a plain simple map. So now we are going to overlay US map, display the US map by only highlighting the US borders, state borders. And to do that, we are going to get US state boundaries from this site, public.opendatasoft.com, and from here we're going to, for US state boundaries, we are going to download this GeoJSON file. So I already downloaded here. It looks like this, and let me show you how you can display highlight the US map with this GeoJSON file. So the way it works is we're going to create a choropleth map, which means choropleth is a map which uses differences in shading color within predefined areas to indicate the intensity of the value, and based on that we highlight the map. So what we are going to do is, after we create a Folium Map instance, and before we display into Streamlit, we're going to add the color with choropleth map. So here if you go to this Folium documentation, you will find it here right after this original function. So let me show you how you can do it. So if I just write down this line, and after that we need to add it into our map, this choropleth map into this map object. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab the GeoJSON file from here, and we'll add it to our map. It will throw probably an error, yes, because we did not provide any GeoJSON file. So let's provide the data here. So for the geodata, which I uploaded into this data folder. The file name, let me copy the file name from here. So if I save it, I should see US map highlighted. Very nice. But this is not our goal. Our goal is to highlight the portion based on state total number here, state total reports by quarter. So so what we can do, we can get those information from our data frame, and in this case this is our data frame. So if I pass it here, it will throw an error. That because it does not know how to from which we did not mention the column name. So let's add the column names here, and in this case you need to pass a tuple, a key value tuple. So first one is our state name, so it will be based on state. We're going to pass it. So first one is our state name. Let me display the column names before we display the map. That way we can tell exactly what the column names are. So this is the state name will be our key, and this will be our value, state total reports quarter. It also did not work because we also have to we will have to tie this this state name with the state name available from this GeoJSON file. So if I open this GeoJSON file, let me find out where is the state names. Where are the state names? So I can see the first one is a features, and it's a list. So if I collapse, so actually I don't have to collapse. I can see the state name is under the properties. So the way we will access it, we will call the feature. Instead of features, it will be a singular feature, and from there we will access the properties, and from there the name. So what we'll have to do, add another argument here, which is key on, and here we are going to find the column from the GeoJSON file, feature.properties.name. So now these two will match. So these two will link together, and based on that, it should show us display the property. There is a typo. So if I save it here, now I see it is showing the map based on number of state total reports by quarter. And if I change the day year, I should see the difference here, difference in color. I can tell. So let's do some changes here. Right now, by default, the line is I feel like the line color is too dark, so I will change the line opacity 0.8 80%, and also I want to highlight each states whenever I hover the mouse. Highlight true. Now it looks better. Now displays a tooltip whenever we will highlight a map, whenever we will hover on top of a state. Let's display some information here. Let's display the state name at least. And the way we can do is add a child element for this 𝗧𝗜𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗣𝗦 GeoJSON object. So after we add it, before we display it in the Streamlit Folium library, let's add another let's call this 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔 again, and in this case we're going to add a child which will be a folium, and it will be a feature, folium features, and we're going to call the function 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔. If I save it, I will probably get error because I need to pass the field name, that field name from this 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘 file. So I want to access this field name. So here what happens, we're going to pass the field names from the properties, so we don't have to call all the way from feature to name. We can just pass the field inside the properties. And it is an array because we can pass multiple values. So I am going to pass just the name to display the state name. So if I hover the mouse, I can see its state names. But the problem is I don't want to see the label, so I can hide the label here. Now it looks better. So let's display population. So this one is state pop, but the problem is here it is only we are accessing field names data from this 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘 file, but this population is in my data frame. So to do that, what we can do, we can add a hack here, like we can add population inside this 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘 object from inside features, then properties. Here we can display the the population or any other fields from our data frame. But first we need to access the population from a state. So let's see how we can access it. So for example, we want to access population from North Carolina. So what we can do, we can display the population here. Actually, let's do this. Let's create a dummy variable and dummy field inside properties first, and let's add this tooltip elements before we add the state. So let's create a loop for each features and add a population field. For feature in we can access by this way, and here we can get the data element, and from here we are going to access the features. And inside feature, so we have inside features, inside feature we have properties, so we can access properties, and we are going to introduce a new field inside properties which will be population, and we will assign a dummy value here. Let's say 1 2 3, and after it is assigned, then we can access it from here. So if I save it, I should able to see population in the tooltip. Yep, I can see the population. Now let's make it dynamic and get the actual value. Before displaying the actual value, let's see the value from a one state. So I will write down a state name here. In this case, for example, Texas or North Carolina. And I will display it here, state name, and the column is state pop. Is my map filtered? Okay, the issue is, okay, we don't have the index. It is based on the index. Index is not our the state name. So the index was 24, I believe, for North Carolina. Yeah, the 24. But what we can do, we can convert this state name as an index and then access it via that way. So let's change the index of this data frame. And the field name is state name. Now if I pass the state name, I can see all the state names here, but it is showing multiple rows. So let's make it unique by dropping duplicates. In place true. Still it has multiple rows. So let's do this. Let's access it from the first row. Now it looks better. Maybe we don't need dropping the duplicates if we just grab the first one. All right. So now we have set the index, and also we're able to get the value from one state. Let's update this loop and display it from here. So what we can do, we can we can get the state name from our data frame. So it will be like, we are going to convert it as a string, and from data frame we will actually, let's grab this line from here and paste it here. So now one issue is I need to find the state name. So not an issue, we can get it from the feature properties and the name variable. That's because for GeoJSON file, the state name is here. From feature properties, name. So if I write it properties and name, I should get the state name. But there is another issue. So there is one state which is not available in our dataset. That way it could not able to locate it. So let's add a condition so that if a field name is available in GeoJSON, also available in our data frame, then it will display. Otherwise it will not display anything for here. So we will write down if state name in list of index, data frame index, then display it, otherwise display not available. All right, looks good. Let's format it. Looks good. Let's also display another data from another column. I want to display reports per 100K. Reports per 100K from this column. It should be easy. So we're going to add another column, another field here. And we will call this one per 100K. And the label I'm going to do like this. reports per 100k population. So it will be from let's copy from here. Maybe let's copy the whole thing. and also here change the field name. I will copy it from here. So now all right, and we need to add this data here in the tooltip. Let's round it. Looks good. I'm going to remove all the column data frame information and make it look clean. Looks great. Now let's highlight whenever we click the click a state, let's filter the data based on whenever someone clicks a state. So whenever we click from this Folium map, we can get the value out of this variable. So let's see what do we have here. So here I can see there is one function, field. It's called last active drawing. I will copy it here, and then if I collapse this geometry section, I will see these properties, and from here it will display the state name. So the state name is going to be here, properties and name. Great. That means whenever we are going to click a state, we will get the state name. But there will be another problem. Let me show you. If I refresh this page, we will get an error. That's because we did not click anything. This field name is not available yet. So let's add a condition. If it is available, then write down display the state name. So make it always run. Now it shows nothing, but if I click a state, it is showing the state name. So let's set a state name here, state name variable. Initially it is null or empty, and whenever it is clicked, it will update this variable. State name, and finally we are going to return this state name, and we are going to grab this state name from this function. That means whenever we will click, it will click a state, it will update our filter, because we already have state filters applied with our display fraud facts function. Awesome. So let's refresh the page one more time. By default, it is showing all states information, and whenever we are clicking one state, it is filtered by that state. Great. Now let's create a sidebar and display all the filters. So we're going to move all of our filters into the sidebar. Let's grab a list of ER from our continental data frame. So let's write down list of ERs here. Let's write down list of ERs variables. df continental, and here we have ER, and from there we need to grab all the unique ERs. And let's see how it looks like. Okay, but it is not sorted. Let's sort it first. And then we're going to add a select box, and it will return a ER filter. I return ER, and we're going to add it into the sidebar, and it will be a select box. Let's call it ER, and we'll pass the ER list. So if I edit, but I want to display the last ER first. So either we can reverse sort it here, or we could add the index name here. We could just reverse sort, or we can grab the last one from here, like so that way we can do the length of ER list -1. And do the same thing for quarter, but quarter we don't have to grab it from the data frame. We can just write down 4 quarters for each year. Let's display the year and quarter name here. Great. Now whenever we are going to select a year and a quarter, we should get data accordingly. And for 2022 we should see blank data. I mean, it will display a dark map and 0 for all fraud facts. Let's move this into its own function, and we will grab a year and quarter from this function. We'll call it display time filters, and here we will just pass the data frame df continental. And we're going to return the year and quarter. All right. Now let's move on to the second filter, which will be, third filter, which will be the state filter in this case. So we're going to display list of states, and we will grab the state names similar way we did for time filters from this df continental. So let's check it first. So first we're going to get the list of state names from the df continental data frame, and here the column name is state name, and we will grab the unique columns from here, and let's write down the state list and display it in the screen. Let's sort it first. Also, let's only display whatever columns are available. Also, let's filter this based on the state name from the GeoJSON file we found. Whenever we will click a state, if it is available in this data, it will display. Otherwise, it will not. It will not grab anything. Let's display these state names into the sidebar. Sidebar dot select box. We'll call it state name or just state, and then we'll pass the state list here. Looks good, but by default I don't want to display any column, any state name. So what I will do, I'll add an empty state name here into this state name list. So whenever we will select something, we will not show the state name. But and also let's return it. I mean save it into a variable, state name variable. That way, whenever we will select it from this drop down, we can see the data filtered by it. But there is one more one issue we have. Like if we select from this map, it is not updating. So we need to pass the index name. Whenever we selecting here, we need to pass the index name into this select box. So we need an index name. State in, I'll call it state index. Here I need to pass the state index. So state index, the way we will find it from this state list, we are going to find the index of the state name, and we are getting the state name from the previous display map function. But one issue it may have, that this map may have one state that is not available in our state list data frame, from our data frame. So let's add a condition that if it is available in this data frame, we will display it. First of all, by default we will not have any state name. Let's see if we see any error if we enter this page first time. We don't see any error, but let's add a condition here. If state name is available and state name is in the list of this state name is available in the list of state list, then we will display it. Otherwise we're going to select the first index, which is in this case this is the first index, or zero index 0. So if I save it now, if I select a state from here, it should update the drop down, or if I select it from here, it should filter it here. Looks good. Now let's move this into its own function, and it will be I will call it display state filter. We'll pass the df continental again, and I'm going to create this function here. And instead of saving into a variable, let's return it directly from here. Also, we need to pass the state name so that it gets highlighted whenever we select from the map. That means from this map, if it is returning any state name, it is going to be highlighted from in the sidebar. Let's save it. Let's save it. Let's refresh this page one more time. By default, there is no state selected. It is showing all data from all states. But if I select it from here, it shows data here. If I select it from here, it shows data here, as well as highlights the state here. So finally, let's add another filter here for our report type. We can just remove these three variables here, because we are already getting those from these filters functions. So one more filter we need to create is for report type. So we are going to get our report type from a display report type function, and here we don't have to pass any data frame, because we can hard code the report type directly from the function. So we can have our report types list as fraud and other, and then return the report type whenever it is selected from the sidebar, and it will be let's add a radio button here, and I will call it report type, and this pass the list here, report types, and by default we are going to display the first one. So if I save it, I should see a radio button here, one for fraud, another for other. By default it is showing fraud facts. If I select other, it will show other facts. Let's also change this as a radio button. That way it will be easy to select from the quarter. Instead of select box, we can make it a radio, and it should work. So that's it. I hope you like it, and feel free to explore it, add more features, and let me know if you have any questions, or if you want any more features to be added, or if you need to if you want me to explain more on some of these areas or any other topics. Let me know in the comment section below, and I will add a list of data sources publicly available in the comment section, in the description section. Feel free to explore those and find a data similar to this US state report, fraud and identity theft report, and create your own map, create your own interactive map, and share it to me. And I would love to hear from you. Thank you all. Thank you for staying with me and all the way through it. And I hope you like it. And I will try to create more interactive dashboard maps, Streamlit dashboards like this in the future. See you later. Bye.